Hi friends, how are you all doing? Happy New Year. Unfortunately, I have had a little bit of a rocky start for the new year. I ended up getting really sick and ended up spending about 3 days in the hospital in Chicago. I just got food poisoning and I'm okay now, but it severely dehydrated me, and I had no potassium in my blood. And since I'd been in Africa, they thought that I might have malaria, so they wouldn't let me go. And that is why it's been so long, taken me so long to film the other half of my December update. I did finish 5 books in December, 5 more books in December. Let's get started. In order that I read them, the next one that I finished is called The Girl Who Drank the Moon by Kelly Barnhill. This book is about a town and a witch, and the leaders of this town perpetuate this tradition that the youngest child at the time of the new year needs to be sacrificed to appease the witch, and they're left in the forest. The witch comes and gets the baby, but not because she wants it, but because she's afraid, like she doesn't know why it's there, and she's just trying to take care of the baby. So she takes it to a different town and gives it to a family there. But there's one baby that she accidentally magics, so she keeps this baby with her. The baby is named Luna, and that's sort of the main character of the book. And we also follow the town and a few of the characters there, specifically one boy that is really concerned with this tradition of giving away their babies. This was a good book. It was objectively, I would say, a really good book, but I think I just struggled to kind of get into it. I'm not sure exactly why, but the characters were really memorable. The whole plot was very creative. I give the book 3 stars, but I would feel like objectively it deserves more like a 4. I just kind of struggled to get into it, and because of my apathy, I couldn't give it more than 3 stars. But if you really enjoy children's literature, I think you'd probably really enjoy this one, especially fantasy children's literature. The next one I read Norse Mythology by Neil Gaiman. This book is just sort of a retelling of Norse mythology, and I picked it up because I didn't know anything about Norse mythology other than the few names of Avengers that creep up in popular culture now. This book begins by introducing you to the characters and sort of some structural information you need to know, and then it's just segmented into individual stories. Episodal, I think that's the right word for it. There's not an overarching plot. You just kind of get individual stories. Some of these were really short, others were maybe 30 pages or so. I thought it was fascinating. Norse mythology is very creative. It's really original. So I thought it was fascinating to read, but I did find myself kind of disengaging towards the second half of the book, and I'm not sure why. I think maybe I had some other books that I was more interested in reading, and I feel bad to punish this book because of that. But I think I gave it 3 stars. It lacked a little bit of, it wasn't quite as captivating as I wanted, but information-wise, I'm glad I read it. In my BookTube newbie tag, many of you said you liked the animals, so here's one of them. Say hi, Cheeto. He's a pretty needy cat. So you're gonna sit here? Oh, you're so cute. Oh, you're shedding everywhere. So the next one that I read, which I just stumbled across because I really wanted something different. I was feeling like some nonfiction while I was waiting in the airport one time. It's called Steal Like an Artist, 10 Things Nobody Told You About Being Creative by Austin Kleon. For starters, I gave this book 2 stars. The first half I found really problematic, and the second half I found maybe slightly motivational, but not very informative. Essentially, the book is about how to encourage yourself to be creative. I found it really unremarkable. It was really short, so it's not a big deal. But what I found most problematic is that he has this argument that all art has already been done. So essentially you can't create something new, and thus whatever you're creating is stealing from someone else, and so it's okay to steal from someone else. But the problem with his argument, and what I found really irritating is that I felt like he was being lazy and trying to get attention by deliberately using a limited vocabulary. In other words, using the word steal to describe everything from plagiarism to appropriation to being inspired by and giving credit to someone for the way that their art that has inspired your art. And those are not the same thing, and some of them are okay and some of them are normal and some of them are not okay. And as someone that studied art and is familiar with, you know, appropriation, which is to borrow from someone else's art, and the lines between that and copyright law. My favorite professor was a copyright lawyer at my school that I studied with, so we kind of talked about this a lot. I just felt like he was being really lazy and kind of attention seeking in his method of just being vague between that. And that's sort of at least the first third of the book is sort of that argument about how it's okay to steal art because there's nothing new to create. And I have a whole nother argument about there being nothing new to create because I don't believe that's true. So I don't even agree with his argument. He had some other points that I think, to give him credit, would maybe be motivational. If you need a little bit of a spark of creative energy to get you going, then this book might be good for that. But overall, I disagreed with his main arguments, and I don't think he presented them well. Like, it's fine to disagree with them, but I felt like his arguments were based on sort of lazy logic, and then his other points were just mostly forgettable. So I feel like I'm being really mean. It was a short book, so I don't really mind that it was disappointing, but overall I wouldn't really recommend it for the most part. Wasn't all that great. Okay. Oh, so much hair, Cheeto. Say hi. Hi, buddy. Oh, I would show him to you more, but the camera's kind of set up in a way that I can't do that, so. Oh, there's so much hair on me now. Gross animals. Sorry to disappoint you all, but these animals are not mine. They're a perk. They come with the house, but I'm probably moving soon, so don't get overly attached. There is one more named Snuggles. Yeah, her name is Snuggles. Again, they're not my animals. I didn't name them. She's lazy, sleeping somewhere, I'm sure. So anyway, okay, next book. Okay, 2 more books. This is taking way too long. The next one I read is called Cry, The Beloved Country by Alan Paton. I listened to this book, and I listened to it while traveling, and I also have a little bit harder time really feeling like I get everything when I listen to a book. I think I'm just not an audio learner. I would say I got probably 75, maybe 70% of this book. There was a lot that I missed. It's just a really, really great book, and I feel like there are a lot of layers and levels of symbolism, a lot of different themes and messages, and I don't know that I grasped them all just by listening to it. It takes place in South Africa. The main character is a priest. He goes to Johannesburg, first off to see his sister, and then while he's there he decides to look for his son, who he hasn't seen for a really long time. And he discovers that his son is in a bit of trouble and has strayed from the path as far as he's concerned as a priest. He's also sort of experiencing for the first time Johannesburg as a big city and a lot of the developments that have happened, sort of narrative of like rising power for the native African people, and their discontent with the white people. Throughout the book, we get to see just sort of the state of South Africa and a lot of the problems that have been created that don't have really simple answers, and that the way that they're being addressed, our main character is sometimes a little bit unsure of what the best way to solve some of the wrongs that have happened to make them right. Our main character deals with needing to find his son and recover him physically, and then deal with some of the anger that comes with feeling that what his son has become has not completely his fault, but made in part because of the system, and yet he doesn't want to perpetuate hate. He has to sort of resolve his feelings with those things. I really enjoyed it, and I would recommend it if you haven't read it. I thought it was great. I really enjoy books with social commentary, but I also feel like it deserves a more thorough reread from me before I say a whole lot about it, I guess. I gave it 5 stars. and it's a book that I would be interested in rereading again one day. And then the last book that I read, which was on a very different note, is called A Man of Some Repute, and it is the first book in a very English mystery series. The book is by Elizabeth Edmonson. So this story takes place in the 1950s, and it takes place at Shelchester Castle. The main character, Hugo, and his little sister move into the castle. They're like subletting a room of it, I suppose. And the reason why is because the Earl of Shelchester, I think he's an earl, he went missing, and there has to be like a certain number of years before he's presumed dead and the daughter can inherit the castle. So at the castle is like the niece of the Earl of Shelchester, and so like some people that keep the house. And then right at the beginning of the book, in the first like 3 chapters or so, they're doing some electrical work, and they dig up underneath the church that is like attached to the house, and they find a body who is presumably Earl Shelchester. And so that's the mystery. It was previously a closed case, and now it has to be reopened, and the town is a bit snoopy, and so there's a bit of gossip. People are being a bit lazy about the investigation, and we're not sure why. It was a very even-toned mystery. I was expecting there to be a few more moments of like suspense and anticipation, so it felt a little bit like proper. But I quite enjoyed it. I found when I finished it, I really wanted to pick up the second one. I definitely intend to carry on with the series. That does it, I think. That wraps up the second half of all the books that I read in December. There were some great reads. I had several 5-star reads, and I'm really satisfied. I'm also very excited for the new year and a new year of reading. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye!